On August 24, 2024, something big happened that shook the tech world and international politics. Telegram founder Pavel Durov was arrested in France, but what does this have to do with Russia in Africa? Well, Telegram isn't just any messaging app. It's become a powerful tool in Russia's growing influence across the African continent. As Moroccan academic and expert on Russia in Africa Zineb Ribua pointed out on X, Telegram has been spreading anti-French sentiment and fake information about French military involvement in places like Mali, much of it driven by Wagner Group channels. These disinformation campaigns have had real consequences, sparking protests and even forcing French troops to withdraw from countries like Niger after a Wagner-backed coup. With Durov now under arrest, could this mark a turning point in Russia's digital strategy in Africa? How did waves of disinformation, spread almost primarily through Telegram channels, combine with Russian hard power to boost Moscow's influence on the continent? Let's break it down.
Founder of the Telegram messaging app, Pavel Durov, has been arrested at a French airport.
Telegram is one of the most downloaded apps in the world.
A large social network that promotes anti-Western and pro-Kremlin ideas in French-speaking Africa. They eulogize Vladimir Putin and call the Ukrainian army Nazis and Satanists.
With 6 military coups in 2020 alone, Francophone West Africa has become a battleground in an East-West power struggle. Countries like Burkina Faso and Mali have seen repeated takeovers, with citizens celebrating them out of frustration with corrupt, ineffective governance. Desperate for change, many are turning against traditional Western allies like France. Russia, stepping in with disinformation campaigns, is capitalizing on this sentiment, portraying itself as a liberator from colonial influence. Leveraging its anti-colonial Cold War-era ties and lack of imperial history in Africa, Moscow is able to play the role of liberator to the West's imperialist. In late October, the second Russia-Africa What's Next Youth Forum took place in Moscow, where Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov emphasized the growing ties between Russia and Africa. Lavrov praised African countries for resisting Western sanctions against Russia, framing their relationship as united against the so-called rules-based order imposed by former colonial powers. The event featured Pan-African influencers like Kemi Seba, who praised Russian influence across the continent while spreading anti-Western rhetoric and disinformation, often backed by the Kremlin. These influencers, including Swiss-Cameroonian Natalie Yam, have garnered large followings by justifying Russia's actions in Ukraine and condemning the West. In addition, Russia appears to be financing troll networks and is also outsourcing its disinformation operations to Ghanaian and Nigerian operatives, according to Facebook and Twitter, which removed the accounts involved. Although the network was small, comprising 49 Facebook accounts, 85 Instagram accounts, and 71 Twitter accounts, it marks the first time a Russian information operating system targeting the US has been run from Africa. The operation, disrupted in its early stages, focused on inflaming social divides in the US by posting about Black history, fashion, celebrity gossip, and issues like police brutality, without being explicitly political. Links were found to Russian Internet Research Agency, IRA, a notorious organization involved in past disinformation efforts. This is part of a broader strategy by Moscow to revive Cold War-era tactics, using social media to exploit racial tensions in the US, echoing the Soviet Union's methods of spreading propaganda and disinformation. So, all that explains the Africans writing pro-Putin comments on social media posts. Why do people support coup leaders even when things aren't improving? Desperation. When democracy fails and foreign interventions don't work, people turn to alternatives, like authoritarianism or Russian influence. Russia's claims about France acting like a colonial power aren't entirely baseless. Since absorbing much of West Africa in the 19th century, French influence remains strong, partly through the CFA franc, a colonial-era currency still used by 14 African nations. Critics argue it hinders economic development and perpetuates neocolonialism. However, Russia's presence isn't altruistic. It's about spreading influence, extracting resources, and expanding power at the West's expense. Take Burkina Faso as an example. This country was hailed as a success story for freedom of the press and political reforms after emerging from 27 years of authoritarian rule. But when the security situation spiraled out of control, the government couldn't handle it, and that's when the coups started. Now the current leader, Traoré, has suspended the constitution, and despite worsening conditions, he hasn't faced much backlash. In fact, people are rallying behind him, and you'll hear chants of no to France, yes to Russia. But Russia has even more in its influence arsenal than Telegram channels and paid trolls and influencers. Its military hard power offers regime survival packages to governments in exchange for access to valuable natural resources. This isn't just a one-off deal. Internal Russian documents reveal a much bigger plan. According to reports seen by the BBC, Russia is actively working to rewrite mining laws in West Africa, aiming to push out Western companies from strategic areas. It's all part of Russia's takeover of Wagner's operations in Africa after the group's collapse following Yevgeny Prigozhin's failed coup in 2023. From gold and diamonds in the Central African Republic to uranium in Namibia, Russia is positioning itself as a major player in Africa's resource extraction sector. Its moves have been a serious blow to France too, which relied on Niger for its uranium needs. And while Russia lags behind as an overall trading partner, the billions of dollars it has made through African gold deals alone are helping to fund its broader geopolitical ambitions. Now, these multi-billion-dollar operations have been absorbed by the Russian state, with control handed to General Andrei Averyanov, a man linked to some of Russia's most notorious international operations, including the attempted assassination of Sergei Skripal. But Averyanov's new focus isn't just about destabilizing governments. It's about propping them up, as long as they pay in minerals. Russia is securing deals from gold to uranium, all while ensuring that their partners, like the military juntas in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, stay in power. The goal? To push out Western influence and take control of Africa's critical resources, creating a new sphere of influence for Russia across the continent. Russia's campaign to expand its influence in Africa has totally wrong-footed both the French and the Americans, and is delivering results for the Kremlin. Moscow is fast becoming the security partner of choice for several African nations, replacing traditional Western allies like France and the United States. During a recent tour of sub-Saharan Africa, Russia's top diplomat, Sergei Lavrov, secured military cooperation deals and pledged further assistance to countries like Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Chad. This aggressive push comes as Russia leverages private security companies, such as Wagner and its successor, the Africa Corps, to provide protection to African leaders and help them combat extremist threats. For many African nations, Russia offers something Western countries don't: security assistance without political strings attached. While the US and France push for democracy and human rights, Russia avoids interfering in domestic politics, making it an appealing alternative for military juntas in countries like Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. These governments, facing growing extremist violence and popular frustration with Western interventions, see Russia as a more reliable partner. The presence of Russian mercenaries on the continent has expanded dramatically since 2017, starting in Sudan and spreading to other nations like Libya and the Central African Republic. These contractors have become a key part of Russia's strategy, offering military support in exchange for access to natural resources. This partnership is reshaping the balance of power in Africa, as countries once aligned with the West increasingly look to Moscow for support. Even Niger, after ousting American and French troops stationed in the country, welcomed Russian trainers and new defense equipment just weeks later. While Russia's influence in Africa continues to grow, the reality on the ground does still face challenges, and its influence comes with a heavy price in blood. Recent reports, such as those from Le Monde, reveal just how precarious Russia's position in Africa can be, especially now that its war in Ukraine is merging with its African adventures. In late July, Tuareg separatist rebels in northern Mali, secretly helped by Ukrainian special forces, claimed to have killed 84 fighters from the African Corps and 47 Malian soldiers during intense fighting near the Algerian border. This is one of the heaviest losses suffered by Wagner in Africa so far, highlighting the volatile and dangerous nature of Russia's involvement on the continent. The losses sustained by Russian mercenaries show that even with significant resources and military partnerships, Russia is far from secure in its efforts to reshape Africa's political landscape. Likewise, Ukraine and its Western backers have found another angle to strike at Russian military targets. With the arrest of Durov now also throwing the future of Telegram into uncertainty, the battle for the hearts and minds of Africans will continue. But as always, do not underestimate Russia's ability to regroup and adapt. Why do you think Russia's African influence is on the rise? Do you think the arrest of Durov in France may have been prompted by Western fears over Russian influence spread via Telegram? Let us know in the comments below.